We just bought a new camera car and it could be the biggest mistake we've ever made. You won't believe what we bought. Well, you might remember a couple of months ago, we put up a video walk around of our current camera car. And at the end, Sean mentioned that she was due for replacement soon because she's getting a bit tired. So the time has come and I finally get to go out and look for a new camera car. The camera car is one of the hardest working vehicles in our fleet. The current GU wagon has had a couple of years of extremely hard touring all around Australia, and it's time to replace her with something a bit newer. I've actually got a couple of vehicles lined up that I'm going to go check out over the next couple of days. To give you a bit of a hint of what I'm looking for, the right vehicle will be strong, reliable, able to carry weight and easy to maintain. So it's time to go look for a new car. You might remember on that original video, we asked you guys what we should replace the camera car with, what vehicle, and got a heap of responses, but three of the more popular ones were the Land Cruiser Troop Carrier, an Iveco Daily, and a Unimog. Now, we looked seriously at a Troopy. We almost pulled the trigger on one. The main reasons we decided not to get one, there's kind of three. The first being, they're still quite expensive. Even the older ones with the 1.8Z and leaf springs all around still fetch a bit of a premium price because they got a bit of a cult following as well, and they're super reliable. The other being access of gear, just with always coming in the back, unless you did like a third door conversion or gull wings or something like that, just getting in and out and grabbing cameras quickly could be a little bit difficult, we thought. And then the third being, they're quite top heavy. So on some of the tougher tracks, might be a little bit spicy. Awesome tourer, be perfect for touring, but for a bit of an all-rounder, it might be a little bit limited. The second being the Iveco Daily. I looked seriously at these. I really like the idea of one of these. They can carry a lot of weight. You can fit lots of people in them. They come twin locked from factory as well, I think, and they also can fit 37s on them and stuff, so super capable. They're also quite big, but you know, not that much bigger than a lifted GU with a roof rack sort of thing in terms of height when I did some measurements. But again, the thing that let that down was just the price of new ones are quite expensive, and also parts for breaking down up in the Cape and things. We'd have to get a lot of parts sort of flown up and whatnot. And then the final one was the Unimog, which would have been sick because if any of the vehicles ever broke down, you could just put the vehicle on the back of the Unimog and drive out. But the thing that let that down was just how big they are. They're just too big for what we do. We kind of have this unwritten rule where the vehicle's got to be able to do a month in the Cape, and it's also got to do the $1,000 track, because that kind of covers off, they have to be usable and livable for a long time, but then they also have to be maneuverable in the bush as well. For example, the $1,000 track's quite tight and weavy, so you've got to be agile enough to get through those tight tracks, but still live out of it for a long time. So as I mentioned earlier, the right four-wheel drive for the Camera Cruise got to be tough, capable, reliable, easy to work on. You know, they're going to be able to have to live out of it for weeks on end and also operate all their camera gear out of it and charge it and stuff like that. So it's got to be a bit of an all-rounder. Keep in mind that this vehicle is going to be one of the hardest working four-wheel drives in the country. So I went out and I bought them this. Probably the most boring car I could have bought, but we've got some big plans. Let me pull over up here and I'll show you what I got. And here she is. It's a 2013 3-litre GU Patrol with leaf springs in the back. I know what you're thinking. Jock, you just said earlier you need to go out and buy a reliable vehicle, then you've gone and bought a 3-litre GU. Well, we're going to transform this vehicle into one of the hardest working four-wheel drives in the country. So first things first, why did we get this Patrol? Well, the reason we decided on the GU Ute is because at the end of the day, this vehicle is a workhorse. It's not going to be built for followers online. It needs to be practical and capable. As well as that, it also needs to carry camera crew and equipment safely, legally and efficiently, and also be livable for the boys for weeks on end. So the main reasons we chose a GU Ute is because they're tough and reliable and proven. We've used GUs for a long time. We know they work. We know they don't really break in the driveline and stuff. The second being weight carrying, single cab Ute with leaf springs. You can get a high GVM upgrade on these GUs. So that covers us there, and we've got heaps of usable space for the boys as well. And thirdly, it's a Patrol. They do the job. I would like to mention I did look at a couple of other four-wheel drives, those being the TD42 GU and the 79 series Land Cruiser. Now with the TD GU, I was finding a lot of them because they're starting to get a little bit long in the tooth now. They stopped production on the TD a bit earlier than these. I think it was around 2006 off the top of my head, which means a lot of them have higher Ks, but they're still fetching quite a high price. I couldn't find a good condition TD42 GU for under 30 grand that a lot of them it had around 300,000 Ks on them and stuff like that. So it's a bit out of my price range, which leaves the 79 series Land Cruiser. Now, 79 straight off the bat to buy new are around $80,000, and forget trying to buy one secondhand with a few mods on them because they got a bit of a tax on them. By the time you add your canopy, your 12 volt, your storage system, your GVM upgrade, your wheels, your tires, you're looking at almost a $200,000 build, which the fact that I paid 20 grand for this means that I could buy 4 of these for the price of one new 79. Also, we generally get around 2 to 3 years out of these vehicles before they need replacement, just because of the work they have to do. So spending $200,000 on a brand new 79 and kitting it up to replace it after 3 years didn't really make a lot of sense. A 79 is a type of vehicle you'd buy and keep forever, and that's definitely not going to be the case with the camera car. This 2013 GU ticked over 200,000 Ks when I bought it, and like most lease-sprung GU utes, it's an ex-Telstra vehicle, which means it's got a roll bar in it, and it's also got driver and passenger airbags to help keep the camera crew safe when we're on the tracks. The next thing I want to talk about is the engine. So the GU's got in it a 4-cylinder turbocharged common rail diesel engine known as a ZD30. And these engines have got a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a lemon. That said though, there are thousands of patrol drivers out there who've done hundreds of thousands of Ks with this engine and have never had a problem. There are a few choice mods you can do to them to make them a little bit more reliable, and we want to see if this engine will go the distance lasting in our camera car as well. The mods you can do are things like a doors valve, which this one's already got fitted to help regulate boost pressure, EGT gauges, fitting a catch can, all these little preventative things you can do to help keep an eye on and make your engine run a bit nicer. As well as that, the vehicle's a patrol. It's got a strong gearbox, strong driveline, strong chassis, strong everything. So we're keen to see if we'll go the distance. So when I picked the GU up, I bought it off some young surfer dude, and I could tell that it needed a bit of a service, things like coolant and stuff like that. So it'd be good to go through it, and just change all the fluids, driveline fluids and stuff. I'd also like to at least get the injectors tested because obviously common rail injectors operate at insanely high pressures, so it'd be good to see they're working correctly, considering the vehicle's done around 200,000 Ks. I'm not sure if they've ever been done, so at least testing them you can find out. The other thing is I wouldn't mind doing something about that intercooler too, because it's pretty small, and on the highway I noticed the EGTs were kind of just sitting quite high, so I'd be curious to see what the intake temperatures were doing. I have a feeling that intercooler is probably heat soaking a bit on some of the longer runs. I know some patrol drivers put a fan under here or just upgrade the intercooler as well, so that'll be definitely something I think we'll have to look at down the line. Also, where we go, we don't want to risk dirty fuel, so I reckon a pre-filter and stuff would be mint as well. Apart from a general service front to back, she's actually pretty clean, I reckon. Bit of a tidy up and it'll be good to go. Righto, so the next thing I want to talk about is the rear suspension. So obviously we've gone for leaf springs in the rear. GU Patrols either came out with a 5-link coil sprung rear end or a leaf sprung rear end like this, and there are a fair few differences between them. So this GU's got a different axle and bearing setup. So on the other GUs, you've got what's called a semi-floating axle. So this assembly here is all pressed onto the axle, the bearings pressed in, and it all comes out as one unit. On this GU, it's what's called a full floating axle, which is the same as in the back of a Land Cruiser, where you can unbolt the axle and remove it from the housing on its own, which you can't do on the semi-floating GU rears. Also, shock mounting and stuff is different like that. And then the actual center is bigger on these too. So in GUs, you either had an H233 or an H260 rear center. This one is an H260, so it's a larger diff center, and it's also got a factory rear locker in it as well. They are known to be a little bit temperamental, but this one works pretty well, so if it keeps working, we'll just keep using it. The main reason we went for the leaf springs in the back though was because of weight carrying. On these GUs, you can get quite a high certified GVM on them because of the leaf springs. You can't do that on the coil sprung ones without spending a lot of money and a lot of time through engineering, whereas these you can get quite high GVM upgrades. They're also, leaf springs are better for carrying weight compared to coils. You had issues with bending coil towers and stuff in the coil sprung GUs. You can brace them, but leaf springs carry the weight a bit better, which is why we chose the leaf sprung rear end. Yes, we're going to lose some flex, but it can carry a lot of gear and the boys will be carrying a lot of stuff, so that's why we went with leaf springs. And she's also got one of these big boy steel trays on it with a pretty nice canvas canopy. This isn't gonna stay though, because after this, I'm gonna be driving the big GU up to Newcastle. I'm gonna go see my good mate Tim and the team from MITS Alloy. I'm gonna take this off and put on a nice setup because we wanna make this the best camera storage setup for the boys that we can. So more on that in a little while though. Also, there is one more thing I wanna mention. So the ZD30 GU and Emmanuel had from factory what's called a dual mass flywheel. They're lighter and it's easier to change gears and stuff like that, but they're not as strong. So this one's still got a dual mass flywheel in it. It is nice to drive, but once you start loading them up and doing a lot of tough tracks and stuff, you find the clutch isn't as resilient. So we'll probably have to change the clutch and convert to a single mass flywheel when we do it, but that's down the line. This GU ute is going to go all around Australia on some of the toughest tracks in the country. We're going to be building it up over the next couple of months before it finally replaces the current camera car, which is set to be retired after a long couple of years of service. What do you reckon though? Have we bought the right vehicle? Being a 3-litre GU, if you've got one of these, let us know in the comments below if there's any mods you've done to make it more reliable or better off-road, if there's anything I've missed, because I'd love to chuck them into the build plan to make this the best camera car we've ever had. Other than that, thanks for watching. Keep an eye on all our social media pages for camera car updates, and I'll catch you next time.